A recent event in Boston that was billed as a straight pride rally has shifted attention to another line of conflict. It's between the right of demonstrators, in this case the counter-protesters, to wear masks, and opposition to that, primarily from police officers. Following accusations from both of those camps, a city councilor introduced a measure to ban masks at public places. The ban, supported by the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association. Among those opposing the ban are our guests from Solidarity Against Hate Boston, Elizabeth Rucker, and from Black Lives Matter Boston, Martin Henson. Thank you both for being with us. A lot of us, I want to start with you, Martin, because a lot of us looking up to this event on August 31st thought this was a small group of people of rather extreme views. They don't have much support in the city. Why don't we just ignore them? But what did you see in this event?
I saw an opportunity for neo-Nazi to advocate openly for the views that they have through the lens of straight pride, which it counts into the equation men who feel disaffected, like Rucker said a minute ago, and feel like they need to further advocate while pulling lines of neo-Nazi extremism, racism, patriarchy, homophobia, masculinity all together to create this harmful experience for a lot of people.
Now, are they all anti-Nazis? I mean, Nazis, neo-Nazis, or are we just talking about maybe some other people who don't really realize the connection, but they show up because they just think this is a cool thing to do?
I think more of the harm that is caused by these people openly spouting these issues. So you may see some of the folks who seem more extreme, and that's what comes to mind when you think of neo-Nazis. But what we need to take note of is the folks who are watching it online and seeing this and thinking that this is representative of the ideas I have, and it's normal and accepted.
Elizabeth, this is not a Boston-only phenomenon we're talking about here, or one day of phenomenon either. But if you look in the context of the rest of the country, what's going on here, what do events like this do as far as causing harm?
Yeah, I mean, they cause harm in a variety of ways. As Martin was pointing to, the main reason that they do this is to generate support online from their kind of dedicated base of followers or people who are becoming their followers. A lot of times this happens through online forums like YouTube and Reddit, where young disaffected white men will see what they're doing and be like, oh, that's really cool. That's the kind of man I want to be. That's so as in their terms of recruitment and like radicalizing people, you can also look to things like people like the shooters in El Paso and Christchurch, New Zealand, both openly reference alt-right or alt-light or neo-Nazi movements. These are all part of the white supremacist and fascist landscape of the United States and internationally. So I think the recruitment they're doing is harmful. Secondly, they're creating a space in Boston to empower and embolden people who hold these views that they consider their compatriots to come out and express them and do violence against people in our community. Whether that violence is physical or emotional or rhetorical, they are doing this to organize, just like when we have the Women's March is a really kind of mainstream example of that is people coming together to say this is the kind of world we want to see, and that will pull out people who didn't know they could come to a rally. When white supremacists, fascists, neo-Nazis, this group of people does that, they're doing the same thing. They're saying, hey, come look, come join us. This is normal. This is a thing you can do in the streets. And that's why all around the country and all around the world, we oppose this global resurgence of fascism, which we can call neo-Nazi, we can call alt-right, we can call alt-light. But what it is at bottom is white supremacy and fascism.
Martin, if you counter-protest against this, and you see these people out there, they're going to make you look like you're vociferous, and then they might spin that into something even worse than being vociferous. I mean, do you ever feel that maybe you're playing into their hands?
I feel like history has been written by Western civilization and white men. So if there's not an opportunity for people to see a conscientious objector like myself, like Ruckus, like many of the other people in the groups that we represent, then they're going to say that we did nothing. We laid down and we said it was okay. So I have to be there.
Elizabeth, what about the masks? There are different versions about why people are wearing them and why they're needed. What's your take on this?
Sure. So I think masks are important for a variety of reasons. so again, with this global like neo-Nazi, white supremacist, fascist like resurgence that we're seeing, one of the primary tactics they have against the ordinary people like Martin and I and all of our comrades on the ground that day that are fighting for equality and justice, one of their tactics for trying to suppress us is to put our information out online, whether that's our names of our homes, our children, our family members, our addresses, our phone numbers, and then use their followers online to do things like call the police on us, to harass us financially and emotionally through the internet, whether that's like sometimes people will send like hundreds of pizzas to an address and then you have to pay for the pizzas. I mean, there's lots of ridiculous things that happen, but then there's death and rape threats made against people, ordinary people that are saying we support racial justice, we support liberation for all people, and like white supremacist fascists, like that is a primary tactic they have. So concealing our identity for some of us, like I'm able to sit here with you today and be open about the fact that I organize for racial justice and liberation, but not everyone can do that. And so in that context, it's about limiting surveillance of these people and protecting ourselves from doxing, and surveillance of the police, who we know have access to lots of surveillance technologies, including in some cases facial recognition software and other things like this. There's also many other reasons we might do this, but I think those are the two primary ones.
Martin, I'm sure you've heard the people from the Patrolmen's Association saying that when demonstrators wear masks, that enables them to act violently, maybe make them less vulnerable to legal repercussions. What do you say?
I would say that we need the system to hold the police accountable for when they're violent towards us. The masks are something that is inconsequential to my protest experience. What I do notice is that the police are often very aggressive. What I do notice is that they often protect the neo-Nazi folks or sympathize with them. And as we know, that a lot of these patrolmen's associations and police groups are affiliated with these groups online through Facebook groups, which has been shown to be very true and very real for a lot of us who've already known it, and for folks who are just now catching up to the information. So I'm not thinking about masks. I'm thinking about, when I think of police, I'm thinking about accountability. I'm thinking about how they overcharge and hyper-criminalize us, and the mask is just a new way to do it.
Yeah. Elizabeth, what about the role of the police in this last event? I mean, they're saying repeatedly that, it's the counter-demonstrators who are out of line. What have you seen?
I think there's hours and hours and hours of footage online that demonstrates that it was not the counter-protesters that were there to be violent or suppress people's civil rights on August 31st. These were ordinary people taking a stand against racism and homophobia and transphobia, and the police came with the intention to violently harm people. There were hundreds and hundreds of police officers in riot gear from all over the surrounding towns. They caused at least 3 concussions, a broken hand, and strangulation. They tackled a friend of mine who's over 60 years old to the ground, and she wasn't arrested, but she was injured. And that's just one story. That's just a set of stories that I can call immediately. The police used chemical weapons. They attacked medics who were helping dehydrated and people already suffering from pepper spray, helping even just passers-by, tourists by Faneuil Hall, just who had no idea what was going on, helping those people to receive on-the-spot medical attention, and the police attacked the medics. The police department has shown over and over again, specifically in August. So I think every day the Boston Police Department is doing violence against Black and brown communities and individuals. And in August, we had 2 examples of the police doing violence against communities in really big ways. This is Operation Clean Sweep at the beginning of August, where the Boston Police Department attacked the homeless and drug-using population by running warrants on anybody who had an open case, by throwing away at least 3 wheelchairs into dump trucks, and actually beating up people on what's called the methadone mile. Then at the end of the month, bookending this, we have Straight Pride, where the police were protecting neo-Nazis, white supremacists, fascists, and attacking primarily LGBTQ demonstrators who were just standing up for racial justice, liberation for queer and trans people.
Martin, I want to ask you how things are playing with the City Council. There was a hearing on this. People showed up in a public place wearing masks. I don't think anybody got hurt, but I guess I didn't see a whole lot of support for this ban among city councilors.
Rucker, do you mind telling him
sure.
how to set up?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I think there were a couple of procedural things. The people who came wearing masks, they were wearing animal masks like we might wear for Halloween. And they didn't wear them the whole time. I think that no one came with the intention to wear a mask and be intimidating. These were very cute. There was an owl and a zebra and an elephant. But the hearing itself was billed as 1 hour long. And it was actually that the police department was allowed to testify for the entire hour, and everyone who wanted to offer public testimony had to wait until the end. And yeah, there was I think the whole city council wasn't present, and it was just a hearing on the possibility of an ordinance, though I think it was really disturbing to hear that they wanted to institute a felony charge for even wearing a mask in public. As several city councilors, I remember specifically Andrea Campbell and Lydia Edwards, expressed that they were not for this. They thought that it was covered under state law already, because it's actually already illegal to wear a mask during the commission of a crime in Massachusetts. And then there were a few, obviously, City Councilor McCarthy and City Councilor Baker seemed to be supportive of this ban, but there hasn't been a lot of action on it since. All but two of the people who gave public testimony, who waited that hour and stayed late to give their testimony, opposed the ban.
Great. Well, thank you both very much, Elizabeth Rucker and Martin Henson. We'll have more news in just a moment.